inauguration, when a new democratic government was going to control South Africa, and the leader was to be Nelson Mandela. This government was free from any bounds, and thus every citizen was supposed to get freedom.
The 10th of May, dawned bright and clear. For the past of a few days, Mandela has been surrounded by dignitaries and world leaders, who came to pay respects before the inauguration.
It will be the largest gathering ever, of international leaders, in South Africa. The ceremonies took place in the lovely sandstone amphitheater, formed by the Union's buildings in Pretoria.
Remember, the ceremonies took place in the lovely sandstone amphitheater, formed by the Union buildings of Pretoria.
For decades, the amphitheater had been a seat of white supremacy. But now, it was a site of gathering of different colors, and different nations, for the installation of South Africa's first non-racial government.
The day of inauguration, Mandela was accompanied with his daughter, Zenani. Mr. de Klerk was first sworn as second deputy president. Then, Thabo Mbeki was sworn as first deputy president. When it was Mandela's turn, he pledged to obey and uphold the Constitution, and to devote himself to the well-being of Republic and its people.
Today, all of us give glory and hope to newborn liberty, out of the experience of an extraordinary human disaster that lasted too long. Must be born a society of which all humanity will proud. We, who were outlaws, not so long ago.
Because of the policy of apartheid, many countries had broken off diplomatic relations with South Africa. Thus, Africans were outlaws not so long ago.
We, who were outlaws not so long ago, have today been given the privilege to be the host of nations of the world on our own soil. We thank all our guests who have come to take possession with the people of our country. It's a common victory for peace, for justice, and for human dignity. We have achieved our political emancipation. We pledge to liberate all our people from poverty, suffering, and discrimination. Never, never, never shall at this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by other. The sun shall never set on so glorious a human achievement. Let freedom reign. God bless Africa. A few moments later, everyone lifted their eyes as an array of South African jets, helicopters, and troop carriers roared in a perfect formation over the Union buildings.
It was not only a pinpoint precision, but it was also a demonstration of military's loyalty to democracy.
Some moments before, the highest generals of South African Defence Force saluted Mandela. But not so many years ago, the same officers wouldn't saluted him, but arrested him. That day, two national anthems were sung. The whites sang, Nkosi Sikelel' Africa, and the blacks sang, Die Stem.
Whites sang, Nkosi Sikelel' Africa. Blacks sang, Die Stem. Die Stem was the old anthem of the Republic.
Although that day, no one knew the lyrics. But they will soon know words by heart. I am overwhelmed with a sense of history. In the first decade of 20th century, the white-skinned people of South Africa erected a system of racial domination against the black-skinned people of their own land. The structure they created formed a basis of the most inhumane society of the world. But now, in the last decade of 20th century, and my own 8th decade, that system is turned forever and replaced by one that recognizes the rights and freedoms of all people.
In the first decade of 20th century, whites made a system of discrimination against black-skinned people. In the last decade of 20th century, that system is replaced with a system that provides freedom to all people.
This day had come by the sacrifices of 1,000s of my people, whose sufferings and courage can never be repaid. I am feeling that I'm simply the sum of all those African patriots gone before me. I'm sad that I am not able to thank them, and they aren't able to see what their sacrifices have resulted. The policy of apartheid created a deep and lasting wound in my people. The decades of oppression had another effect. It produced Oliver Tambo, Chief Luthuli, Walter Sisulu, Yusuf Dadoo, and more like them.
The decades of oppression made another effect. It produced the people like Oliver Tambo, Chief Luthuli, Walter Sisulu, and Yusuf Dadoo.
Perhaps it requires such depth of oppression to create such heights of character. My country is rich in the minerals and gems beneath its soil. But, I think, its greatest wealth is its people. Its people are finer and truer than the purest diamonds. Because of the struggle, I learned the meaning of courage. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it.
According to Mandela, courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not who doesn't single quote he feel afraid, but he who conquers wins over that fear.
No one is born hating others because of skin color. They had learned to hate. If they can learn to hate, they can learn to love, as love comes naturally to the heart. Even when I was in the prison, I would see some humanity in one of the guards. And this was enough to keep me going. Goodness is a flame that can be hidden, but can never be extinguished in the life. Every man has two obligations, duties. 1. The obligations to his family, parents, wife and children. And 2. Obligations to his people, his community, his country. Everyone has to fulfill his obligations according to his abilities. But, in our country, it was impossible for a citizen to fulfill these. Anyone who tried to fulfill these was forced to live apart from his family. I was not born with a hunger to be free. I was free in every way. I knew when I was small. I was free to run in the fields, to swim in the stream, free to roast under sky, and free to ride the backs of bulls. But when I became a young man, I discovered that my freedom was just an illusion. Then, I began to hunger for freedom. As a student, my freedom was to stay out at night, read what I wanted, and go anywhere. As a young man, I wanted the freedom to achieve my potential, to earn my keep, to marry and have a family. But, then I slowly saw that anyone in my family was not free. And then, I joined the African National Congress, when the hunger for my personal freedom became hunger for the freedom of my people. It was the desire for freedom that transformed me from a frightening man into a bold one. It transformed me from a law-abiding person to a criminal. It transformed me from a family-loving husband to a man without home. The chains on my people are the chains on me. I know that the oppressor and the oppressed both must be liberated. A man who takes freedom of a person is a prisoner of hatred, dislike, and narrow-mindedness.
A man who takes another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred, hate, prejudice, dislike, and narrow-mindedness.
One is not free if he's taking another's freedom. And he's not free if his freedom is taken. Thus, both the oppressor and oppressed need to be liberated. This is all. Now, watch a small summary.